So Sunderland's season took and turned for the worst to an extent. Well, for Simon Grayson it did, as he was sacked. So Ben and Peter with me here. We're just going to ramble on and just talk through the sacking, who we'd want to bring in, and preview Borough's derby on a Sunday. So, you both, how are you both doing?
Absolutely terrible.
Well, that's an honest answer.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Happy that he's gone.
Yeah, we've had two conflicting answers there. One good and one not so good. So let's get into it straight away for once. First thing, I'll start with Pete because Pete was actually at the Bolton game because me and Ben were otherwise occupied rather. So Pete, go for it. Thoughts? Grace, the Bolton game very quickly, and then Grayson sacking.
Started very well. Typical Sunderland, go 1-0 down. Responded well. Typical Sunderland, go 3-2 down, and then they got a point. Yeah. Grayson sacking, right decision, but I thought it was handled very, very badly. But it's the right decision for the football club.
Very quickly, I will add on what Pete's just said there. Basically, if you go follow Craig Hope, who's a journalist for the Daily Mail, he basically said something along the lines of that Grayson was going to go in his office and then prepare for a debriefing with the players, and then Bain apparently was there waiting for him, saying he was sacked basically. So that's the context what Pete was talking about. And what do you think, Ben? Then
on the sacking, like Pete said, I thought it was done in an unprofessional manner. It's obviously been written up beforehand, hasn't it? You know, to have a statement written up that quickly after the game. I mean, what was it, 16 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah, there's obviously glad that he's gone. I think the club needed him gone. I think he was a soft touch, if I'm honest. But obviously, Martin Bain's job now is enormous, isn't it? I mean, the pressure is on him. It's his third time lucky, really, to try and get a manager that'll pick us up. And yeah, I think we can start. Well, certainly I haven't criticised Martin Bain as much as other people have, but this time I will criticise him boldly if he doesn't get the right person.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. I'm with you in that camp. I think that Martin Bain certainly hasn't been perfect. He's done a lot of things that are brought into question and criticism by supporters. There are things he's done I disagree with, and I certainly think that he has had a lot of shit to deal with. I don't think that can be denied. I think a lot of supporters. I don't know what I've said in the past. I don't know what they wanted from Martin Bain. The whole point of Martin Bain being here, well, for me, was to try and make sure that we got ourselves out of the debt. But obviously, if he gets the wrong appointment again, I can't defend him for that. I really cannot. And like you said yourself, it's a massive task now to see who we actually will bring in. Because until recently, I was firmly Grayson in, but as of a couple of weeks ago, I started to doubt it. And then after we lost to Bristol City, I was Grayson out. So I didn't have to wait long to get me wish, really. But the argument I kept saying was who you're going to bring in. And that's the question now, isn't it? Who exactly, in this day and age, in this situation, are we going to bring in realistically?
I think the only way the club can move forward now, they've tried everything else. I think the only avenue they haven't explored is someone who knows the club inside out again. I mean, there's loads of people who know the club inside out. So I'm not going to throw any names into the ring because I think there's loads of potential managers that could do the job. But I think the club won't move forward until. Oh, sorry, I don't think the club will go in the right direction until they give the job to someone who knows the club. There's no point giving it to someone who doesn't know the club because I don't think they're going to progress any further than what we are now.
Yeah, I'd go along.
I agree with Pete there. Like the whole club's just disillusioned, isn't it? I mean, everyone inside the club's disillusioned. The fans are disillusioned. They need someone to come in and just instill them values that we had as a club before the short reign, really. And you know, many names have been mentioned. I'll mention them. I'm not scared to. Kevin Ball. You know, personally, I wouldn't put Kevin Ball there. I think he's doing a good job in the ambassadorial role. But Peter Reid and Kevin Phillips, people who's been at the club and who's really been successful at the club, I think.
I think Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, yeah. They were successful at Sunderland for a brief spell, granted, but they know what success should be at Sunderland, and I think that's what we need. We need to put a positive spin on what is a dour time at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the worst I've ever experienced it since being a Sunderland fan. I can't remember anything like this. It just seems like a never-ending nightmare since we lost to Middlesbrough over the Moyes. It's one bad thing after the other. And to be honest, Michael remembers. Well, Michael said it. Michael was spot on, I think, when he said it. To be fair, I thought it would be a couple-year process of getting back to the Premier League. To be fair, more bad things have probably happened since then. But I think the process could be maybe even 6, 7, 8 years before Sunderland get back to the Premier League, because there's one thing after another happening at the moment, and it's not fixed overnight. I just think Martin Bain is adding to the problems by constantly appointing the wrong managers. So he needs to get this one right, because if he doesn't, Sunderland will be in League One next year.
Well, you said yourself, if it's going to be a case of 6, 7, 8 years before we're back in the Premier League, that's not including successive relegations, is it? And I was adamant that we wouldn't get relegated, and I don't know about you two. I'm seriously worried about the prospect of going down at the moment. Very worried. I think that going down from the Prem was kind of plausible, even though it wasn't good enough. Because by the time you're 10 years in the top flight, you shouldn't be in relegation battles at that point. Given when a lot of other clubs have come up and done better than you, but obviously that's down to how well managed they are. But it's plausible, a realistic thing to see Sunderland getting relegated from the Prem. If we go down to League One, I think as a fan that would just break me completely. I can't. I don't even want to try and think about it, but unfortunately, it's something that we have to actually think about. We certainly aren't going to. But like Pete said, and I've said it earlier, I didn't want to be right about that, but I didn't see us getting back to the Prem anytime soon because we're such a state on and off the field. Don't know what you think about that, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of relegation, yeah, I think it's an expectation now. I think actually the objective is just to stay in the league, isn't it, this season? We're not going to make the playoffs. We probably won't make mid-table. Yeah, so honestly, as a Sunderland fan sitting here today, I would take 21st in the table. And we would go again next season.
Yeah.
And obviously, the state that tells you the apathy that is around the fans at the moment, and you can't blame the fans for that. You really can't, because they wanted the best for the football club and they have been served up, but rubbish, really. And we've just come to the point where this season again we just need to get through it and make the best of a bad situation. And I think starting again next season. But I mean, when you look at the points, 10 points out of 15 games, it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's 10 points from possible 45. So
yeah, I mean, and conceding 30 goals. There's only Burton who's worse.
Have Bolton conceded less than us?
Yeah, Bolton's only conceded 28 goals.
Oh my god! I didn't. Thanks, Ben. I didn't realise it was that horrendous. I knew it was bad, but I didn't think we conceded that many. Well, I guess it goes to show we conceded 3 goals to the worst team in the league on Tuesday night. So I can't fathom that. But you're right about the apathy thing, and until the simple matter is, until results start getting better, it isn't going to change. I mean, what depresses me about this season now is, yeah, you're right. I would take 21st, but given when you remember after we beat Norwich and after we drew against Sheffield Wednesday, and that was after both of those games after we drew against Derby, the mood was positive around the place, and I thought I didn't know whether I wasn't sure whether we'd make playoffs, but I still thought we might have an all right season here. We might at least half enjoy it, and then it's been one shit creek after another. There's been nothing. Yeah, one of you two cut us in here because I'm struggling to think of what to say that hasn't been said already. To be honest,
just like I said earlier, I don't see the club progressing until they get someone who knows the club inside out. And if they don't explore that avenue and they get someone who doesn't fit that what I've just described, then I think relegation will happen. I just hope for the club's sake, the future of the club, I just hope they go and get someone who can turn it around very, very quickly, because it's a very hard job, and I don't know who would want it. Like you say, I think the only person who would want it is someone. I know Ben isn't ideally as keen, but someone like Kevin Ball or Roy Keane or Kevin Phillips or Peter Reid, I think they're the only type of people who can save that football club. If I'm being totally honest with you,
I'm sort of torn in two minds on Kevin Ball. No, go on, Ben. Sorry, you go on. I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to talk about the manager that comes in instantly needs to get results, doesn't he? To get the fans back on side.
Definitely.
Who is going to have that instant impact on the players? You look at Ali McCoist has been in the press today. I don't think he would do a job because he couldn't get Rangers to a competitive place in a two-team league. Really, if I'm totally honest, in the SPL. You look at Harry Redknapp. Well, he's just been sacked by Birmingham.
Stay clear of him with a barge pole.
So I can't see how that would be a positive step. So I would just agree with Pete, saying with the four that he mentioned, barring Kevin Ball, I think they would be the ideal candidates.
Well, just to be fun, Pete, mention the people you said again, and I'll tell you what the odds are because I'm on Sky Bet right now. Tell me tell me them again. I'll tell you what the odds that Sky Bet have got on them becoming Sunderland manager.
What the managers that I would like, or
the managers that you say, say those inside who know the club inside out and all that.
All right, so as well, right, we had Kevin Phillips.
Right, Kevin Phillips, he's 16-1.
Right, Peter Reid, obviously.
10-1.
Right, well, obviously Kevin Ball.
Kevin Ball, he is quite a bit further way down the list actually. He's 20-1.
Roy Keane, I think.
Roy Keane, 16-1.
Oh, there is more. I suppose Allardyce, but that isn't going to happen, is it?
Yeah, well, I said before that the person who I would want is Sam Allardyce, but unfortunately, given the fact that Allardyce, wherever he goes, usually wants to have a bit of money, usually wants to have something resembling a budget, that just isn't realistic. Allardyce is 25-1, but he's the only person I would really be over the moon with. As far as those that were mentioned there, the only person I would really consider personally is Kevin Ball. And I know people are probably chucking things at the screen right now and saying, what about Peter Reid? What about Peter Reid? No, sorry, not Peter Reid, Roy Keane. Roy Keane, for me, strikes me as the type of person who could potentially be a dinosaur because you've got to remember he came in the same era or sort of played under Fergie, and both of them strike me as someone of people who just would not take shit off anybody. And unfortunately, these days, you've got to mollycoddle players, you've got to be their best friend, you've got to equivalent of breastfeeding them, basically. A weird analogy to use, I know, but I don't envisage Roy Keane lasting very long.
I think if we're honest, Michael, I think whoever Sunderland appoints a massive risk. For example, yes, I would like them fall in charge of Sunderland, but you look at Peter Reid, he's been at the game for years. Kevin Ball, obviously, he's had two spells as caretaker manager, that's it.
Yeah.
Kevin Phillips has never managed a team in his career. And then you've obviously got Roy Keane, who's been out of a job since Ipswich. But I think anyone who takes a risk, but I just think it's a less of a risk if we get someone who knows the club, basically.
Do you think we've then got the point where we've got now to lose?
I think we've got a lot to lose, but I think, for example, like I say, I think we've got a lot to lose. We've got a reputation to lose. We've got a championship status to lose, and we've got a financial situation that could get even worse. But I just think if we've got someone who knows the club, I think, like Ben said, I think results would happen very, very quickly in comparison to, say, Ali McCoist and Harry Redknapp. I just don't think that would get going under them.
Well, Harry Redknapp is just someone who has criticised us whatever chance. I can't remember who said it. I think someone said on Twitter that Harry Redknapp basically just takes every chance in the media to criticise Sunderland, and I don't know what his problem is with us, but like I wouldn't want Harry Redknapp with a 10-foot barge. But I think Ben said it in a group chat before. I would stay well clear of Harry Redknapp. I think he's absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, we're already nearly bankrupt as it is.
Imagine that state when Redknapp coming in. Well, I've said in the past, and I think this is probably not going to go down well. I've said Pardew just for the rest of the season in the past. He's not my first choice, granted. I think that, he would be good for a short. I think Pardew would be good enough for a short-term impact. Unless you want to just appoint him till Christmas and then sack him, I don't know. But
yeah, I can see why you're saying that because every club he's been at, as well short-term. Obviously, long-term, like you say, no chance. But short-term, he probably would do well. But I don't know if he'd do well given he probably doesn't know how Sunderland will work. Like I say,
I mean, you've got the ex-Newcastle thing to think about, but at the same time, their fans, majority of them, hounded him out. Whatever people might want to say, but so I don't know whether that would mean as much to him. But regardless, I mean, personally, we'll go back on topic a little bit. Kevin Ball, and I've met Kevin Ball a couple of times, not to try and sound big up my own arse or anything, but I've met Kevin Ball a couple of times, and to me, he seems a very down-to-earth bloke. He seems to know what he would want. He seems to be someone that the players look up to and admire, but at the same time, someone that they would fear. Like if they didn't perform, he'd let them know about it. So, I don't know. I wouldn't be against the idea of Kevin Ball, even if it was Bally and Phillips, for example. And you got to remember, the finances, that would probably cost the least amount of money to appoint those two as potential managers, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Ben, you want to cut in?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, Bowley could be, there for the players to look up to. But in my estimations, I would rather have Peter Reid because he would, and they need a good kick up the arse. You know what I mean? Because they've been let on the leash or let off the leash even with Grayson. Grayson probably hasn't had the respect of the players. Regarding what's been out in the press from players that's actually spoke out. Well, not inadvertently spoke out. I don't believe any of that. There's no way them players have respect for Grayson, and we need someone like Peter Reid to demand respect of them and to get up their arse every day at training. So I tell you what, I'm damn sick of seeing them not put enough effort in on a Saturday afternoon. So that's my kind of rant straight away on that point.
I'm very glad you said that, actually. Sorry to interrupt. I'm very glad you said that because that sort of goes on to the next point. Craig Hope, again, the same journalist for the Daily Mail, he basically he put a tweet out which, to be fair, he's probably just reporting on what he's been told. But he basically said something along the lines of that the players are disgusted at Grayson's dismissal and that that Grayson had the support and respect of the players on side. Now, for 1 second, if that's them having respect, if Grayson has their respect, then those players need to have a good hard look at themselves and be absolutely ashamed of themselves. Because if that's, they should be ashamed either way, but I'm sorry, based on what I saw on the pitch, that does not look like a team that Grayson had the respect of. If that's the case,
I'm sorry for interrupting, Michael, but that screams of desperation from Sunderland's players. Because if a manager's been sacked, you should look at your own performances, like you say. You should be thinking, how can I get better? In any industry, you say that. Yes, Grayson was at fault, failing to decide on a goalkeeper, and he just kept tweaking the team. But once the players cross over that white line, Grayson has very little input then. That's up to the players, and the players haven't performed. You know what I mean? So the players really need to perform on Sunday, and that's a big game. I don't want to get beat off Middlesbrough. I'm telling you what, we'll go to Borough and we'll win. We better. I'm telling you now. If we win at Borough, will Stockdale and McKinley be in for the job? Do you think?
That's what worries. I bet I'll answer that there. That's what worries me. If we beat Middlesbrough, I don't see us beating Middlesbrough, but if we beat Middlesbrough, obviously I've seen a few rumours floating around that they'll get the job permanently. If they get the job permanently, I honestly don't know where Sunderland's future is going to be because that's a massive no-no for me if them two get the job.
No, I completely agreed. Me and Pete have sort of talked about it before, but I'm pretty sure Ben's going to agree on this. Pete mentioned the idea of Robbie Stockdale. McKinley, I've not really known much about him, but Stockdale I've known. He's obviously been around for a long time. Truth be told, hasn't really done anything. But at the same time, with Stockdale, he just doesn't strike me as an inspiring appointment. And if that's the route they're going to go down, that whatever little supporters that aren't completely disillusioned with the club will quickly become disillusioned, I'm telling you, because if you dare appoint Stockdale, what does that say? So I don't know what you think, Ben, but me and Pete are pretty much in the camp that would not be an inspiring choice whatsoever.
No, I think Robbie Stockdale's been as soft as Clark's as well, if I'm totally honest. You never see Robbie Stockdale coming out and saying it how it is, like Peter Reid would, like Kevin Ball would, and that's me being pro Kevin Ball there. But Robbie Stockdale, nah, not for me. What's he done? Yes, he had a good reserve side. Reserves are very differently managed to big team players.
Yeah,
Can he manage the egos? Is he managing the egos? That's the question. Is he managing that 23-man squad? I would think not. Is he managing them correctly? Is he training them correctly? I was on Facebook last season, and they were doing a training session live, being streamed live, and I watched about 20 or 30 minutes of it, and all he had them doing was running around, and that was towards the end of last season when they should have been fit. So if you're telling me he's going to be manager permanently, nah, we can kiss goodbye to the Championship. We can actually start thinking about being relegated to League 2 already.
Forget that, the conference. And honestly, given the current state of Sunderland, I know I'm probably joking here, but that genuinely wouldn't surprise me. We always find new ways to add more shit on top of shit. As far as I can't add anything to that. Stockdale, what you've pretty much said is spot on. I can't think of a thing he's done. He did a little spell for the under-23s or whatever it was, and he did okay, but he hasn't done anything other than that. So I mean, and Kevin, but I mean, like I said, if it came down to a choice between say Stockdale and Bawley would win hands down for me, because I think Bawley will be a better man manager as well. And that's the thing that's a side of the game that's incredibly underlooked actually. Man management is so key to getting the best out of what you've got. And this is coming from me, because as you two know, I've been in the past quite heavily criticising everyone who just says manager out, Grayson out, Moyes out, Allardyce out, whatever it is. I know not many people said Allardyce out, but the point is, if you're just going to constantly demand the manager to be sacked, it's just basically to me that condones the players not performing, and thus with a new manager coming in, they'll perform a little bit, they'll get a kick up the arse, they'll get a new boost, they'll perform a little bit, and then be back to square one all over again. No progression, same place.
Well, just going back to Stockdale as well, I was watching a programme on Sky Sports called The Next Jamie Vardy, and he was actually one of the coaches in the off-season just gone, and he was coaching non-league players, right? And it was an interesting watch to actually see him coach. And the phrases that he said in an interview that he used at Sunderland, he was talking about the importance of players being superhuman, and that's something they emphasise at Sunderland. I just found it so cringeworthy.
Superhuman? Did they actually use those words?
That was the name that came out, superhuman. I just thought, you must be absolutely off your head.
What does he mean by that? Like be
superhuman. Obviously, go to the next level. Be a better player.
Right.
But that seems a strange word to use, though.
You tell me who was superhuman in that side last year. No one.
Actually, there is one person the only person I could think of who was superhuman was Pickford, because he's not human, the saves that he makes. But other than that, yeah, you're right. No one.
So if he's using that kind of language last season, but if he's still using it this season, he needs to give his head a shake.
Well then, so safe to say, guys, as you know, we don't want Robbie Stockdale. That's no, fair enough, agreed on that. Well, look, you guys let us know in the comments below, who do you want as next manager? I really haven't got a clue. I wouldn't be against the idea of Bawley and Phillips. I think that, like I said, it's the least cost-effective route to go down. We've got to manage our finances. Truth be told, I'm surprised we sacked Grayson, because I figured we wouldn't have the funds to do it. However, that has obviously been proven wrong. So let's try and wrap this up a little bit. Borough on Sunday, right? Ben, if I'm correct, you're not going. Me and Pete are fucking morons because we're going. So you both tell how you feel about the Borough game.
I'll let Ben start.
I'm going to watch it on TV anyway, being in the Midlands.
Oh, I forgot it's on TV.
Not to come up on Sunday.
Sorry?
To come up on Monday, just so I didn't have to go. That was my choice. But yeah, I think we'll get beat, if I'm honest. Probably, all the hangover from the Grayson sack is still going to be there. We're not going to have anyone who's going to make a real change, a real difference, because, Stockdale and McKinley were there anyway. So I think we'll probably get beat 3-1. 1-3-1.
I think I agree. I agree with Ben. To be fair, I think he's been a bit generous. I think it's going to be an absolute hammering, to be honest. I think it depends. I suppose you never know. You don't know what McKinney may say to the players. He may have them fired up for it. But so I wouldn't be surprised if Sunderland did win.
But they should be motivated anyway, though. Sorry, no, they should be motivated anyway, though, shouldn't they?
Well, they should. But I mean, caretaker managers can always have on the short term, can always lift the group. So don't be surprised to see Sunderland beat Middlesbrough. But I just think with the way Sunderland defend and the way they've been defending all season, and Middlesbrough starting to hit form now, I think it'll be a hammering. If you ask me for a prediction, I'm going to say 4-0.
Wouldn't surprise. I don't know anymore. I've got to the point where.
And I don't rate Middlesbrough, as you both know, but I just think with the way we defend and the way they're scoring goals at the minute, and I just don't see where the next win's coming from. I only see someone winning the game until they get someone in that'll take the club forward. So 4-0 Middlesbrough for me. Sounds negative, but
that's easier said than done. But I'd agree. I mean, as much as I know you don't rate Borough, I think me and Ben probably do rate Borough for this league, and I think they're one of the top 6 teams in this division. And I just think.
Oh yeah, they are.
You're right though. With the way we defend though, like with Coney looking disinterested, Jones half the time doesn't close a cross down. I'm starting to see where you're coming from with that, because I've said Jones is alright in the past. You've got Oviedo, who I like. O'Shea is 37, whatever age he is at this point. I don't know. And you got to remember, Borough have got a Sombalonga, they've got Adama Traore, they've got Johnny Howson, they've got Braithwaite, they've got. I'm getting nightmares just thinking about that now, and I'm going to it. I kind of believe I was persuaded. If I had to give a prediction, I'd probably say like 3-0, 4-1, 3-1 Borough. I'd be astonished if we went to Borough and won, but I'll tell you what, we better see a reaction.
I do think Sunderland are better than Middlesbrough going forward, but I just think if someone can sniff out, if someone can make the defence tight and make them and learn from their mistakes, and hopefully if they're well organised against Middlesbrough, someone can beat Middlesbrough. The question is, they haven't defended well all season, so that question is, will they start now?
Well, that's the thing. That's one of the things why. One of the reasons why Grayson really had to go, because Grayson, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, was a defender. So really, we shouldn't have been that open at the back. And people can say, I mean, obviously, I know players won't be happy with what's gone on at the club. I mean, obviously, it's been discussed before, but that shouldn't really affect them too much when they're out on the pitch. The mood will be lifted by winning games and getting results. To do that, and Pete's right. I think that if you snuff out the mistakes at the back, you'd easily win games in this league. Because I think we've got the firepower to win games. And call me frank, most teams in this league are poor. I know people can say we are, but honestly, a majority of teams we've lost to are worse than us. We are down. We are not down. We are not down there because our squad is a bottom 3 championship team. End of story. I'm not going to elaborate on that.
I mean, I tell you what needs to happen. Once we do have a manager in, and everyone can see that the attack going forward is great, but obviously defence is not. Defence is totally other end of the spectrum. Ellis Shaw needs to either invest some more money in. He needs to take the shortfall now, because let's face it, the club's going to devalue if we go down again. He needs to reckon out how much can he actually afford to give us. He's going to have to give the manager something. Or if we sell Ndong or
Coney and Rodwell, as was mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying. No, I was just trying to. I think it was again Dong, Coney, and Rodwell, wasn't it, that were mentioned to be sold? Go on, continue.
If we sell them, we need some of that money to invest in a new defence. It's a simple solution to the problem. It really is. It's as simple as that. But that all hinges on if someone wants to take Cornea. Well, Cornea is really the top one we're looking to sell, and also if Alice Short is choosing to invest something in January.
Well, not to mention at this point, someone who buys the club's going to have to. I mean, but yeah, they'll probably get it at a much lower price than, say, I mean, Newcastle, for example, are up for sale, but we'd be a much cheaper proposition than them. But the difference is they've got to then probably fund losses more than likely, especially given we're not in the Premier League, and especially if we go down to League One, that would just be even worse. So really, it's not a very cheap proposition for people, is it? So I don't know. It's a much easier thing said than done to be sold. But you're right. Whatever players we sell in January, we need the money to. And I will criticise Bain here. I'm sorry, but if you don't want Sunderland to go down to League One, or if you want Sunderland to do something, you're going to have to give the next manager money. End of story.
Honest, it's a case of crisis management at the moment, isn't it? It's not a case of we'll try and we'll look and we'll see. It's putting a solution in place and then carrying that on. Because I can't see. Bain talks about this solution that we've got going at the club. All I can see is cuts. There's not a solution. It's just devalue.
Yeah, I don't think he knows what you're doing.
Yeah, that isn't the solution.
Wow, what a way to end it. Go ahead.
To be honest, when someone Ben mentioned earlier, I completely forgot. I actually forgot Bain was the one who appointed Moyes. I was thinking he's got Moyes wrong. He's got Grayson wrong. If he gets another one wrong, I mean, it's just one thing after another. People are going to start questioning him as well. I mean, I know you two are probably a bit different to me, but like when I said earlier, I don't think Sunderland will progress until they've got someone in that knows the club. I don't think they'll progress until Bain leaves either. But that's a different conversation.
I'm not entirely 100% sure I agree on that, but yeah, that's a completely different ball game altogether. But obviously, I may end up agreeing if it doesn't end up getting this particular thing right. Right, we're going to try and wrap it up, and it'll be a bit shorter than usual. Sorry, guys, this is a bit depressing. So who knows? Can we just forget the long-term thing for a minute? Can we just win at Borough, please? And honestly, I swear to God, I wouldn't be surprised. I need to see Sunderland keep a clean sheet, but I know for a fact we're probably not going. We're not going to win Borough. But anyway, thanks to the two of you for coming on. Anyway, I'm hoping the next time we do one, it's a little less depressing. Just slightly. So, are you both going to look forward for Sunday?
No, I'm not looking forward to it, truthfully.
Don't blame you. Pete?
I'm looking forward to singing my head off, but I'm not looking forward to the game. But yeah.
All right then. Well, yeah, most people will be hammered by then, so it won't matter. Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, screw it. How are the lads?